Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 77. This week has been a quieter week for me. I've caught a cold off of Rosie, which has reduced my energy. I'm fighting through it. I've had a few sniffles, but it's also been my birthday, and so I took a little bit of a time away from things and had a really lovely day. So yeah, a little bit less done than usual. I have progressed a couple of the projects which are super and secret, so I've done that, and also the Battle Games Middle Earth is moving forwards. So when I've had time to hobby, I've mainly been working on the things that I've got big deadlines for. However, there are bits and pieces in here. I've painted up the Moonstone starter set, which has been a lot of fun, and I had a delivery which is for the model railway, which is also pretty awesome. So shorter video this week, but still cool progress. I really hope you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments below. I do love to hear from you. I do reply to all of your comments, yeah, onwards and upwards, frankly. Hopefully I'll be feeling better next week and I can get back to the big swing of things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again at the end. That's gone on nicely. I did a couple of coats. I'm happy with that. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to come along, just move that right out of the way, and I've got my terrain paint here, my brown terrain paint, which is basically paint and PVA with a bit of water. Give a bit of a stir, and I'm going to come on, I'm going to paint it on the top quite thick and then scatter sand on, because I do want to have some texture, and I don't want to have it black completely underneath the grass. So once this is on and dry with the sand, then I can do the static grass. So I'll just get this done, be able to paint the whole thing as one, and then throw some sand on it. Just like that. So I've just finished my 20 minutes, and I've been putting paint on both the miniatures and on the terrain. So let me quickly show you what I've done. Baron von Fancy Hat is the one that I've had the most fun with, going a bit crazy colours with him, but I think that he should have crazy colours. I've also picked out what the main kind of like heraldic colour of these dudes is going to be. This is Doug the Flatulent, and I've got the awesome orange banner. And for Vicious Midget, I've picked the same colour out for his, if you can see, I don't know if that's coming out very well, but his little feather is that colour. On top of that, I put a little bit of time and some leather work onto Flintlock. So there we are. And also did Friar Flavius's cloak, burnt red. And last but not least of the miniatures that I've painted just now was Beaky's beak, if that's going to focus. I have decided that I am going to be doing the terrain separately, so not part of the 20 minutes. So on top of that, I've also spent a bit of time on these trees. I've just washed them, put some old wood colour from Vallejo, and then washed them with Agrax. And I've used the contrast paint Wildwood, I think it is, for this one. So there's a few details that need to be picked out on that one. I don't want it to be quite so dark, but that's good base. And I'm very, very close actually to finishing the little house, though I'm not very happy with the colour that I've chosen. So I think that the door wants to be a different colour completely to the roof, but I really, really like the colour of the roof. I really like how that's turned out. So there we are. That's the progress on the Moonstone project, and I will bring you back tomorrow for some more. I've left this for 24 hours actually, just because of busyness. You don't need to. And what I'm now going to do is come along with the same brown and paint it over the top of the sand, and then leave that for another however long. This one does need to be left to dry completely, because the next step will be applying the static grass. And if the sand is loose, then you won't get a very good adhesion with that glue. So yeah, so we're just going to paint that brown on, and then let that dry. So I'll get that done and bring you along for the next step when I get to it. Okay, it's time to do some dressing on this now. So I was going to do just a green sward, but I think I'm actually going to make use of some of this Serious Play tufts that I really like. They're really, really colourful. And I'm also going to chuck some tulips on, because I love tulips. We have them coming up in the garden now, and so that's really nice to see. So I put the sheet down, and I've got the static grass and everything ready, and then I've changed my mind just as I've stood here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in place these elements, these extra elements, and then I'll do my static grassing. So as I always say when I'm working with this, you do need to have tweezers when you're sticking these tufts down, because they do stick to your fingers quite a lot. Also, really what you should be doing is putting some PVA underneath them. So I'm going to do that. I'm probably actually just going to use some fast drying basing glue, because it will be faster drying and it will look nice. So I'm just going to put some of these flowers just around the edge, just here. I'm not going to do too many. I don't want to overwhelm it. But it's going to just add that splash of colour, which is going to make it a little bit of a nicer display. And I'm putting these on before I do the static grass, so the static grass goes around them. As you can see, they're just lovely. I need to order some more actually. I bought these for doing Rosie's hobbit hole, and now I am rambling. Anyway, so when this is dried, when the fast dry basing glue has gone off completely, then I will come along and I will do the static grass. So that's that done. There we are, just some nice colours there. And I'll get the tulips out now. They didn't want to come out of their pot. So I'm not going to go for the yellow ones, I'm going to go for a purple one. And these, actually, I need to get my little bradawl. And I'm going to just look at where is that? That's going to sit roughly there. So I think I might put one or two just here. So a little dip of the bradawl, and then get some basing glue on it, and then push it in. They're a bit out scale, but it doesn't matter. It's just going to look very pretty. So I might put just a couple just around here, just to frame the shot. There we are. That's another one. So a little bit more. Got the basing glue on my finger, I hate that. And maybe one more. Just here. Oh yeah. Right, so I'll let that dry, and then I'll come back and I'll do the static grass. So the next thing I need to do on this is carve in the track. The track is going to go from back here behind, going past this rock, and it's going to come kind of in a curve like this. This is going to take some time and probably require more than one different tool, but that's basically the idea. We're going to have a scored track kind of doing this, and then fanning out away from these tents. So I'm going to get that done. I'll put some music on and you can watch, and when that's finished, this is pretty much done. I do still want to put some gravestones, but I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do that at the moment. So if I don't get to the gravestones, I'm not going to consider it a failure. What I really wanted was this track. This is their backup plan. So there we are. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. It definitely looks like a track through the snow. I'm going to let that set again. Let me think about a little bit more about this graveyard that I want to put up here. But for now, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking. So this evening, I actually put some colour onto grub. I wasn't sure what to do, and then I suddenly had some inspiration. So as you can see, he's got some a nice yellowy green skin. On top of that, I did more work on Beaky Bobby. So there he is, if he's going to focus. Yes, there we are. So yeah, really pleased with that. I'm carrying that motif of that orange through on these, as you can see. So his feathers and what have you, and also the gem in his little kind of like scepter thing is orange. So that's that. I've also put some more work, a lot of work into flintlock. So I'm deciding to go with a bit of a kind of like steampunky effect here. So you can see I've gone for a bronze look on the stick and also on the sights. So that's looking good fun. And then Doug the Flatulent, I just painted up his little pug that he's riding on. Just did the base colours. There's a little bit more to do on that obviously yet. And the final thing that I've actually made a little bit more progress on this evening, I've actually made a start as well on Eric the Squire. So I've done his hair a little bit and done his wooden sword and what have you, but not very much. Been a good evening, enjoyed it. I'm just taking my time a bit more on these, trying not to feel pressured because I want them to look lovely. So rather than thinking I need to finish them in a certain amount of time, I'm just stopping and looking and pausing. So it's a slower 20 minutes. In terms of smashing things out, but I'm really enjoying it. It's my project and I can change my mind if I like, and I have changed my mind. I've decided that I'm not going to go for static grass over the whole thing. I'm actually going to put a coat of my shop bought flocking material over everything. I just was stood kind of like tidying up, looking. I might need a bigger brush for most of this, and I looked up at it and I thought, you know what, that actually is going to be exactly what I'm looking for in terms of what I want this to actually look like. I might put some static grass on, but certainly I'm not going to put it on all over the base. So I've just got this old brush which is actually just broken on me as well. So and what I'm going to do is paint my scenic glue on over the top of all this, and then scatter a load of the flock on. Now my normal is to do a mix of at least 2 if not 3 colours, but I think for this one I'm going to just do 1 and see how it looks. If I don't like it I can always come back and add some more. So we'll use the big brush to do the big areas, and then I'll come in with the little brush and pick in around the flowers and what have you. So I really want this to be a full covering of flock. So I'll put some music on and get this done. There we are. I'll let that dry and then I'll seal it with some more of the scenic glue, and then I think I'm done unless I do decide to put some static grass on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along with the scenic glue, paint it all over, literally all over, and it looks horrendous and you get all scared, but then it does dry clear, so don't worry. This will seal the flock completely in place, make sure that it doesn't move, so you don't have to worry about knocking it or whatever. It's really a good idea if you're doing gaming terrain, and I do it for everything because I'd rather have this stay than go. So I'll use a smaller brush again for around there, and what I'm then going to do once I've painted this on, I'm actually just going to sit the dragon and Alice on top of the scenic glue covering, because that will give a good enough adhesion, and but not too much. So if I want to remove them, I obviously can. So yeah, I'll get that done, and then this project is finished. It's been really good fun. Really enjoyed it. It's a really nice print, really nice colours, and I particularly like my little 10x10 display, channeling my encounter terrain 10x10 practice. So yeah, go and get a smaller brush, touch up those little bits that I haven't been able to reach with this big brush, and then I will just literally sit like that on, and that will give enough of a enough of a hold, so I'll let that go to dry and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. This evening for my 20 minutes, I got back to the painting desk. Last night I spent the time assembling some more warbats, so there was no painting, so I didn't film. But tonight I've got these 4, which is half of the starter set, ready for washes. So I might look at them tomorrow and see if I've missed anything, but right now I'm very, very happy with how they look. And just with some washes, I think they'll be done. They were the low-hanging fruit. The other ones are more complex paint jobs, and I have been quite tired today, so I just thought I'd just finish these off, get a little bit of success and feel a bit better about it all, and then tomorrow I can look at the other minis and do them, which I'll find hopefully easier tomorrow. Now on top of that, let me just move these out of the way. On top of that, I have also basically finished the painting for this little building. I've just realised I forgot to paint the doorknob, so I'll do that in brass. But I changed the colour to blue of the door, and I think it works really, really nicely with how the roof works. And then inside I've painted like a dark red. So I'm going to come along, I'm going to put some scenic material on the outsides, and I'm going to put some sand inside. So where you can see it's just grey at the moment, I'm actually going to put that as sand. So I need to just paint the doorknob and the hinges, which I'll do now before I go up, and that's also done. And behind me I have racked up loads and loads and loads of awesome 3D printed scenery that I've been doing, which is for this, so that will be continuing. I've also started up on my little kind of like adventurer's cache, so you can see I've painted the canvas, just got some barrels and some what have you to paint on that. That won't take me long, probably finish that tomorrow. So yeah, a really good evening of both 20 minutes on the miniatures and a little bit of time spent on the terrain. So I've come straight upstairs and actually decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the scenicking now. So this is my terrain paint, which is house paint mixed with PVA and water, and a little dash of washing up liquid just to prevent it from going off. I'm getting right to the bottom of my vat of it, so it's a bit, I'm going to wash the jar out totally and replace it. So it's a little bit gunky at the moment. It's not as smooth flowing as I normally have it. However, that's pretty good for this because I want it to be quite thick. So what I'm going to do is basically just come along, do each section, and then drop a little bit of sand on. And then when that's dry, I can come back with some more of the scenic paint and cover it over again. So this will give a nice texture. As you can see, it's a very quick process, and then you literally just empty it and it's done. So I'll get that done on the rest of it. I'll zoom that in a bit so you can see a bit clearer. There we are. I'll get that done on the other sections and then leave that to dry overnight. I can safely say that without this challenge or this kind of like dedication to 20 minutes a night, I would not have come down because I'm tired and I've got a cold. As you can hear, I'm sniffling a lot. However, I've come down 20 minutes and I've managed to get these very nearly finished all by the washes. So Eric's got a little bit more work to be done on him in terms of base colours. But I'm pretty pleased with Grub and with Baron von Fancy Hat. So that means that tomorrow I'm going to be able to work on the final mini that is still needing a lot of base work, which is Flintlock here. I should be able to get the rest of the stuff done in terms of washes tomorrow, which is really cool. So I've had a lot of fun painting these up. It was a good idea picking the low-hanging fruit yesterday because this evening I actually was quite inspired by these and really enjoyed painting them. So yeah, that just shows that sometimes discretion is the better part of valour. So let's see if we can keep these in focus. This evening I've put the washes on and I'm probably happy enough to let these now go for basing. They've been a lot of fun to paint. As you can see, some of the washes are still wet. The only one that might need a little bit more work is maybe put some colour onto Doug the Flatulent's little pug, and I might highlight his teeth. So he's one that may get a little bit more love. Managed to get quite nice colours on these, which I'm quite pleased about. I was a little bit of a struggle on this one here, on the Baron von Fancy Hat, just because I went so colourful and it actually ended up being a little bit difficult for me to balance those colours out. Eric the Squire, on the other hand, has been a whole lot of fun. And I've done a nice blue top with the nice red leather trousers, and I had a lot of fun painting him up. I found him quite simple in the end. He made me nervous when I first started. Flintlock, I went for kind of a little bit of a forester type look with green and browns and a little bit kind of camouflaged, maybe, not sure, just that's how he turned out. But I'm really pleased with his gun and the way that looks, a little bit kind of like steampunk with the brass. Grub here, gone bright, gone yellows. I probably might repaint him once I get some of the colour shift paints. I might put a colour shift over the top of him. But for now I'm happy enough. He looks a bit kind of like unpleasant, doesn't he? A bit unhealthy. The Vicious Midget, probably the simplest paint job that I did. So just a lot of steel, a little bit of kind of like light colour for the cloth, an orange highlight for his feather, and then magic in a bottle, otherwise known as Agrak's Earthshade. And saving my favourite for last, because he is clearly my favourite, Beaky Bobby. I've had the most fun painting this guy. He is just brilliant. Really, really enjoyed that, and a great, great sculpt and fun model. So there we are. I've finished to my satisfaction, I think, apart from the couple of touch-ups I've mentioned, the project for painting up the starter set from Moonstone. So yeah, I'm going to go on to basing them now, and I'll probably bring you along for that as well, though it will be a very simple basing job. So now it's time to dress the, put the grass and the flock and what have you on. So what I've got is I've got some serious play tufts here, which are like for a garden. So what I'm probably going to do is just around here, I'm going to put 2 strips. So I'm going to cut that in half and put 2 strips of that down. And I'm also going to put some of these kind of like bushes, which I think will look really, really nice. So I'm going to put those in as well on the other side. And then when these have dried and gone off properly, which doesn't take very long, then I'll come along with some of my scenic glue and I'll just put a little bit of grass around it as well, but not too much, because this is obviously cultivated. So you can see that that blends in really, really nicely with the sand and paint base that I did. Almost invisible to see the difference. So there we are. So that can go like that. Very, very cool. The nice little kind of garden of some sort going on around the corner. What we might have then is maybe a couple of these little purple flowers, just one each side of the doorway. Now these are a bit old, and so they might need extra PVA to stick them down. But there we are. So just a couple of nice flowering bushes next to the door. It's a bit hard to see because of the light, but hopefully you can. Let me zoom that in a bit better. There we are. And then on this side, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of bushes, actually just at the back here, I'm going to put a couple of bushes down in this little area here. So a bit of neat PVA. And this is homemade flock, made from torn up scrubbing brush. And a bit of PVA and a bit of paint to colour it. This will need probably a couple of applications of PVA. Once it's stuck, it will need some more PVA over the top, else it will just all fall off. It's a bit annoying to stick, actually. I always end up using way too much PVA. But there we are, that should do it. That will need to have another couple of applications of PVA to make it stay, but I don't need to let that dry before I fiddle with it anymore. So now we just have this last area, and what I might do is make use of these tufts here, which I've got. I've had these for ages, and they're also getting a bit old, so I can just stick those in and make it a little bit of a tufty garden. And then I can come along, as I say, later on, once this is all dried, and scatter some traditional flock to fill in the gaps as much as I want, and that will then
complete this, and this is again, it looks really, really nice. A really cool little 3D printed house made out of a tree stump. Highly recommended to pick this up and print it. As you can see, you can make it look really, really nice, really easy. It didn't take me very long at all. So you can imagine a little gnome or something living there, can't you? Isn't that great? So I'm just sat at my desk watching the Crew Dragon docking at the International Space Station, which is pretty exciting. I do actually have the sound on, so you might hear it in a second. And what I've done is I've printed out the new instructions for Treebeard, and I've got my Treebeard box here, and I'm just going to start to assemble this while I'm watching. I'll pop a link on the description below to these instructions in case you can't find it. It's just on the Warhammer community site. Oh, there they go talking again. So yeah, so I'm just going to watch this and start to clean this up and glue it together, and I will show what it looks like when it's all assembled and tell you about anything I've learned. Apologies for talking over the top of the space stuff. I'm going to get back to watching it. So a little bit of shaky cam for some footage for the model railway. As you can see here, we have some fences in packets. I've been waiting for these for a little while. Now these have arrived, I will be able to put these around the front of the house, so along the edge of the road, with the gate here, and also fence off the rest of the fields. This will be hay, so I'll be using the hay. I have been thinking a lot about the tunnel, and I am going to do a lift out section, but I'm just working out how I'm going to do it. So my current thought is that I'm going to glue these end pieces in place where I want them to go and fill them in, so the lift out will be the front of it only, because I think that'll be a little bit easier for me to do. So what I'll probably do is build over the top to about halfway and then have the front bit lift off, and that's the idea. So yeah, not very much happened actually on this week. A lot of thinking, a lot of planning, and then yesterday these arrived, which means now what I'm going to do is I'll get them primed and painted, and then when that's done I will get them put in place around the farm, which will be really cool and will really define the space. Of course, that does mean that I'm going to need to finish off the scenicking, so putting these in place might even happen after the tunnel, but we shall see. Onwards very slowly, but it is going to get there eventually, I promise. So a quick update on the build of Treebeard, and wow, this is not an easy model to put together. There are some decisions in it that are completely crazy. For example, you have to stick the face of the hobbits on the front of their heads. Why that can't be cast, why that can't be included, why you have to do that is absolutely beyond me. And that kind of over complexity to this assembly continues through the rest and into Treebeard. The assembly instructions are necessarily very, very hard to follow because it's so complex and the actual alignments are so specific that showing them on something like this, and here is, for example, if we have a look at this step here, 6A, I mean, I managed to work it out, but that picture does not really illustrate very clearly where which part goes where. It just doesn't. A plan view would have been better rather than a side view. There are things like that are just a little bit rubbish. This is probably the least impressed so far. I mean, I'm very happy with how it says it's going to end up looking. I mean, that's cool. But this is the least impressed I am so far with any kit from Games Workshop. It is overly complicated, overly engineered, unnecessarily so. If there were different face options, okay, then I could understand why you would be gluing the face on the front of the Hobbit. But there aren't. So, I mean, why can't that come pre-moulded onto that? Why can't that come pre-moulded? Why can't all of these faces come pre-moulded? I'm a little bit irritated by it, as you can probably tell. I was up until about midnight last night, and what I've managed to do is 4 hobbits and 2 legs. Crazy, absolutely crazy. However, it does look like it's going to turn out okay. I do think I haven't made any mistakes. Touch wood, knock on head. But we shall see, I suppose, when I get to the end of it. I will keep building, and when it's assembled, I will probably whinge again. Well, there you are. As I say, a slightly shorter, less varied week, but still got quite a bit done. Really enjoyed painting up those Moonstone miniatures. It's good to get started on Treebeard, though it is proving to be quite difficult, and having finished up the Alison the Dragon diorama is really cool. I really like it. It's really cool to look at that.
So thanks for watching. If you got this far, really do appreciate it. Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, say hello, don't be shy. I always reply to all of them, as I always say. And I really do appreciate everyone who supports and encourages. It's just wonderful to see that. Really, really puts a smile on my face, so thanks. I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.